high school students in powerful learning experiences? If it was, what did that say about our project? And about our field? These were not the questions that had brought us to Inspire. We began 2010 in an optimistic frame of mind, having secured a small grant to study a range of successful American public high schools, particularly, but not exclusively, those serving disadvantaged students, and try to understand what made them tick. In an era when standardized testing reigned supreme, we wished to question the logic that labeled good schools as those whose students did well on tests, and instead study places that were not merely achieving academic minimums, but helping students to flourish, to think critically, to become engaged in their learning, and, in a variety of ways, to prepare for the demands of 21st century life. Since we suspected that the answers to these questions might be multiple rather than single, we wanted to capture a variety of different approaches to achieving these goals. We would visit schools that varied widely in pedagogical approaches, governance, and design, including traditional comprehensive high schools, charter schools, magnet schools, pedagogically traditional and pedagogically progressive schools, urban schools, and suburban schools. Our plan called for us to immerse ourselves in these places using ethnographic methods, observing classes, talking with teachers and students, examining artifacts, to try to understand the varied approaches to bringing public high schools into the modern age. The timing for such a study was ripe. While there had been a spate of studies on high schools in the 1980s, captured in classic works such as Sizer's Horace's Compromise, Lawrence Lightfoot's The Good High School, Powell et al.'s The Shopping Mall High School, and Goodlad's A Place Called School, shifting trends in scholarship had moved away from the kind of holistic and humanistic perspectives that characterized this well-known work. In addition, the creation of charter schools in the early 1990s, along with the small school movement in the late 1990s and early 2000s, meant that there was now a much greater range of institutions to study. We also wanted to tap into the increasing public desire to improve high schools, which many had come to see as the final and most challenging frontier of K-12 school reform. While there had been some progress in student achievement in math and reading in 4th and 8th grades over the past several decades, high school achievement in math and reading in the United States has been flat. The International PISA test, which asks high school students not only to recall information, but also to apply knowledge and problem solve, consistently places the United States at the midpoint or lower of international rankings. Data also consistently demonstrate that the longer students are in school, the less engaged they feel. 75% of 5th graders feel engaged by school, but only 32% of 11th graders feel similarly. Since this range of indicators suggested that high school continues to be the hardest place to make progress, we were hoping to study break-the-mold high schools to understand what it would take to create engaging, equitable, and intellectually vibrant learning environments for all adolescents. The problem was finding such schools. Inspire was not an exception. At school after school, as we shadowed students through their days, we found gaps between aspirations and realities. Most classrooms were spaces to sit passively and listen. Most academic work instructed students to recall or minimally apply what they had been told. When we asked students the purpose of what they were doing, the most common responses were, "I don't know, it's in the textbook," and "maybe it'll help me in college." We had seen such lackluster classrooms before, of course, but these were in highly recommended schools where we had hoped to find a model that would transcend the norm. All too often, things looked the way they had at Inspire: big ambitions and significant struggles. So, what to do? One option was to abandon the project. There would be some funding wasted and some time squandered, but perhaps better to accept the sunk costs and move on. A second option was to turn our project into an indictment of the American education system. In the tradition of Jonathan Kozol, John Holt, Charles Silberman, and many others, we could write a scathing critique of American schooling, drawing on our observations to show the ways in which even schools that were meant to be innovative were falling far short.